Okay, iniziamo. We are ready.
Come funziona sto coso? Io mi dico sempre.
Okay, so with this, you go
Stop.
to the next slide.
Please come back. It's not working.
Not working?
No, that's not.
Okay. There is an option here.
Please come back. We are just starting the new session, session 4.
Okay,
Ah.
that's one.
Yeah, this is the pointer.
Okay.
This is backward, forward.
Thank you.
So this session will be focused on Leishmania, and the first speaker is Gioia Bongiorno from Istituto Superiore di Sanità in Rome, and coordinator for Italy of a very big, important Horizon project, which is Climus. And so, please, Gioia, when you want, you can start. You need this.
Okay.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank for the invitation, giving me the opportunity of being here today and in this wonderful location. And congratulations for all the organization. So I will speak about size, obviously, and just to have a view on a better distribution and disease that transmit in Italy. So as you have already said, just roughly, sanities are known vectors for human and animal pathogens, different pathogens, protozoa, genus Leishmania, arboviruses, flavivirus, vesiculovirus, and arbovirus, and bacterium like Bartonella bacillus in only the world. Leishmaniasis are neglected diseases and are endemic in Mediterranean countries, mostly related to Leishmania phantom species, causing visceral and cutaneous leishmaniasis in human and animals. From the map, we can see the regional distribution of autochthonous Leishmania cases in European countries. Here I show the map of endemic countries for Central flaviviruses. On the left, you can see Sicilian and Naples flavivirus distribution and ethnicity. And we know, as we know, it can cause asymptomatic like influence like syndromes, fever, headache, muscle pain, photophobia. Instead, on the right, you can see the documented cases of Toscana viruses, which influence the central nervous system, giving the severe form acute meningitis and meningoencephalitis. Those flaviviruses have a wide distribution, as we can see from the map on the bottom of the slides, and a great diversity and a high lifetime risk of infection. As we know, communicable diseases are also expanding their boundaries in Southern Europe, caused by climate and environmental drivers, causing cell vector expansion in the territories where they were not previously established. This is why, as we know, sandflies are ectothermic insects, so their developing cycle is highly influenced by climate, particularly minimum weight and temperature affecting larval survival, and cold and rainy summers that reduce strongly the adult body activity. As we can see from the cycle, sandflies goes through 4 larval instars, and they survive with a temperature at 4 diapausing larvae. In warm and humid environments, instead the diapause for at X stage. So climate and microclimatic change influences the distribution of insect vectors and the disease they transmit. From this table, we can see that in Italy, out of 800 species of certified described worldwide, we have only 8 species endemic, which are, by the way, confirmed vector of Leishmanian phantom, as we can see. 4 Larossius species, Larossius genus species. Phlebotomus very short, the first one is the most efficient vector in Italy, confirmed for Leishmanian phantom and also for Toscana virus and Oliva virus. Phlebotomus perfideli is also confirmed vector of Leishmanian phantom, but it is confirmed also for Toscana and Ferro virus, which has been for the first time identified in our lab from Emilia-Romagna, Phlebotomus perfideli. And Neglectus and Ariasi, which are confirmed vector but not in our country, respectively in Urbana, Spain and France. And then we have Paparazzi and Serpenti, which are confirmed vector of different Leishmania species, Leishmania major and tropica, in Eurasia and Africa, and the Middle East and Central Africa. By the way, Phlebotomus paparazzi is also known vector, confirmed vector of sandfly, Sicilian and Naples in Italy. Phlebotomus machiti, which is a vector but not yet proven for Leishmanian phantom. This could be a challenging opportunity also for us in Italy. We have its presence all over Italian regions. And Stintino minuta, which is a confirmed vector territory, as we have already heard from precedent speakers. So, evidence are reported for changing distribution of some Phlebotomus species in Europe, expanding toward northern latitude and higher altitude in association with climate change. Distribution is sensitive to long-term increasing temperature and increasing precipitation. leading to the occupation of new ecological niches. So from the maps, we can see ACDC endemicity in European countries updated in October 2022. Another important influence that climate change is causing sunflowers is the changing in their activity. In fact, as we can see, the activity season in Europe spans from April to November, depending on latitude. The graph, oops, sorry. From the graph here, we can see that in April we have the beginning of activity season in Greece and Cyprus, followed by May in Spain, Portugal, and Turkey, and in June in France, Italy, and Georgia. So it's depending on influenced by altitude from the average general temperature. Also, the seasonal distribution greatly influenced by latitude, but conversely, in fact, if we can see from the graph, we can start a higher latitude with the monomodal peak distribution in Georgia and France, followed by a co-influent bimodal distribution in Italy, Spain, Portugal, and bimodal distribution in Greece, ending with trimodal in Cyprus and Turkey and Portugal at that way. So, as we can see, there are differences correlated to latitude. These are reported cases of Toscana, confirmed cases of Toscana virus in Italy in 5 years. And we had more than 300 cases of meningitis, meningoencephalitis, and encephalitis confirmed by Toscana virus and reported to the surveillance system. An average of 55 cases per year. And as we can see from the graph, oops, it's great, there is a strict correlation between the seasonality of reported cases and sandfly activities, June to October, as we can see. And 2018 was the year in which have been registered the majority of cases. So it happened. Just to have, I would like to introduce you the results of an Italian project co-financed by the Italian Ministry of Health within INSAT program 2. And which is financed also from CCM, which is the National Center for Disease Surveillance and Prevention Control. So this study was a longitudinal study in the frame of West Nile surveillance mirrors, and it lasted for 6 years in 7 Italian regions. And the sampling sample was actively conducted by CDC and PG Stintino camps. Specimens were morphologically identified and pooled with the insects and species, molecularly tested for pathogen detection. This man Toscana virus. As we can see, just some picture of morphological identification of males. On the left, Phlebotomus perniciosus, on the right, copulatory valves of Phlebotomus perfidei, and here instead are female spermatecas, on the left perniciosus, and on the right perfidei, that to show you some image. And from the result, here was the result from more than 24,000 flies identified we can see that the prevalences were highly for phlebotomist perfidium, being showing more than almost 92% of prevalences, as we can see from the graphs below. Followed by perniciosus, Stintino minuta, phlebotomus masciti, papatasi, and only few specimens of papatasi and electus. By region, just to give you some ideas, we found that in Lazio and Tuscany and Emilia-Romagna, there were the majority of these phlebotomous perfiliae identified, more than 99%. From pathogen detection analysis, we discovered prevalence for Leishmania 0.2% and also for Toscana virus 0.1%. We analyzed these sand-flight pools to have a chance to find some positive samples. So there were here reported some numbers. I reported the case of Sardinia, just here, and so we have very different sandfly species prevalences showing the majority for Phlebotomus perniciosus, the most efficient Italian vector of Leishmania, and followed by Sergitonia minuta and Perfidium. Leishmania tested species prevalence was a little bit more for Phlebotomus perniciosus during the pool strategy, but as we can see by analysis, positive pool species prevalence was the opposite. So we had a majority of prevalences for Sergitonia minuta, showing positivity in more than 60% of pools analyzed. And also here we, for pathogen detection, revealed us Leishmania prevalence of 1.4%, so higher, and Toscana virus 0.09%, showing that perniciosus is a more efficient vector, as we already confirmed. This is the cumulative pathogen detection results. Showing that over a total of 327 pools analyzed, more than 10,000 specimens, we had 26 pools, so 0.3% positive for Leishmania circulation, with higher prevalences found in Phlebotomus perniciosus, as said, followed by Perfidia and Sergitonia minuta. From this analysis, we can highlight that the Veneto region showed the higher positivity for Leishmania phantom, followed by Sardinia and Tuscany. By the way, we have to say that these prevalences are influenced by the number of specimens analyzed for region, which is not quite the same. So the highest Toscana virus circulation has been detected in Latium, followed by Piedmont, Sardinia, and Veneto. From this table, we can see the cumulative infection prevalence by region and the identification of Leishmania species reported. So from Tuscany, we can see that we found positivity for Leishmania phantom species in a pool of Phlebotomus perfidium. So it was the prevalent species, it was quite normal. For Sardinia, we found Leishmania tarentulae in Phlebotomus perniciosus, or we can say pool of Phlebotomus perniciosus, and Sergitonia minuta. This is quite interesting because we have discussed before, as you discussed before, Leishmania tarentulae is present in reptiles, but finding this positivity in Phlebotomus perniciosus, which is vector of mammals, would be very interesting to highly investigate these findings. We found also a positive, now this is for the dissection, non sono lapidabili, so we're a live specimen, and we can identify them. And for Toscana virus, we found in a pool of 34 superciliary latium, positive pulse, and the treatment. Now, just a quick glance of Climate project, which involves really Gaetano and Valentina from Naples University in the European Horizon 2021 project, which focus on climate monitoring and decision support framework for sand-fly diseases detection and mitigation with cost benefit and climate policy measures. The aim is to help mitigate climate change with emergency transmission and spread effect of borne and zoonotic pathogens based on economics and wellness approach. In relation particularly to some variants of diseases. This is from the map, we can see the 16 countries involved in the projects, 29 partners, being the most different characters from data scientists to climatologists, veterinarians, technology platform designers. And this is the course section and work packages, organized in 7 work packages, interconnected one to another. The work package 2 works, which is sample collection and processing in cluster, will be the base to construct forecasting and tools for help to give a help in the policy making and health organizing prevention. And this is an overview of the project objectives, so to develop a framework for prediction, fast screening and economic assessment, which is in support of sand-fly borne diseases, by conducting collection data from cross-laboratory studies in 14 countries and in 3-year project, and to finalize the decision support models and tools in sand-fly borne diseases prevention and control. Just to give you an idea, we have also a work package 6 weeks of dissemination and exploitation, providing maximum visibility and public awareness for this project. I put just some little suggestions like climate's website or videos and interview with the experts like Gaetano, of course, and guidelines translated in 12 languages. Climate Talks, which is a podcast with interviews of partners, and newsletter and open articles. And if you want to support our follow-up, here are all our addresses. Thank you for the attention and
Bravissimo. So, any questions for Gioia? Hi, please.
Thank you, Gioia. Fantastic presentation. I had just one question regarding Stintino. Do you think we should be more investigating more of these species, maybe because we can have a very important impact also, considering that now it's considered anthropophilic also?
Yes.
And regarding the Trimanosomatidactyly, do you have any molecular tool to identify, for example, for inspections or to distinguish these species of Trypanosoma? Thank you.
Thank you for the interesting question. Of course, investigating Stintino that's crucial in this moment because we can have a lot of information by screening natural population. also facile about specificità so both of them. But in my opinion, the sand-flying natural catches can give us a glance on what is going on really in wildlife, because we don't have any precise idea neither of hosts involved, wild hosts involved in this cycle. And Platidactyly, at the moment we are trying to sequence our catches, but we are studying this on
Because we're also in our region, we're finding a lot of sandflies and especially geckos also, we're able to isolate from them. So we have many cultures of the Platidactyly, and we can maybe join forces to see if we can identify specific primers that will allow us to identify we have co-infections, because that's
yes, of course, would be a great idea. We have also frozen strains, so we can let's put them together.
Yes, sorry, a follow-up question regarding the host. Do you have any studies on blood source, blood meal?
No, not at all, not yet. We have to do it.
Thank you.
Other questions? Okay, if not, we can thank Gioia. And also, he mentioned climate, so I can tell as an external, it's a very, very nice project for the communicate, also for the communication that they use. And please follow on LinkedIn because they have a very great way of communication. Alessandra, before take a note on how some diseases are used and communicating in the media. This is also one of our responsibility. So we should sometimes not only make an opinion paper, but we should also make a paper on newspaper, on media, speaking what is real science, what is just something that media are using at the moment. So I just agree with you. So next speakers come from Naples. Gaetano Oliva, everybody knows him. And then with Valentina Foglia Manzillo, I will speak about Leishmania in dog and in cats. Please, Gaetano.
Thank you very much. Hello, good morning, everyone. Thanks again to Luigi and Fabrizio for the invitation and for the support. Very proud to announce that tomorrow we will celebrate 800 years from the foundation of our university. So this is the reason why we cannot stay tomorrow here, and we are very sorry, but we are come back to Naples for this celebration. Our talk is related to asymptomatic reservoir. Obviously, we just will have a short talk on canine and feline asymptomatic reservoir, but could be a very interesting discussion also for humans. It's a very new approach. So this is just an example of how we are far from what is true when we estimated the prevalence of infection in an area. Because we always refer to dogs, and here some example of canine leishmaniasis distribution, and mainly there are bias because the prevalence is usually estimated on sick animals or with other different criteria. So it is not easy to compare among different countries of the world, and also in same country it's not easy to compare the prevalence of infection. We also read many papers that infected dogs are considered the main domestic animal reservoirs for Leishmania phantom parts. But obviously our mind is changing during the last year. For example, we know that we are many dermatopathies in humans that are not related to dogs. So probably with the new approach of sequencing, we clarify the many aspects of the reservoir. Another problem is that in dogs, we have no clear distinction of, like in humans, between visceral and cutaneous form, clinical forms, because we consider in dogs visceral leishmaniasis because it affects many organs like spleen, liver, bone marrow, lymph node, but we know for sure that skin usually is one of the organs that hosts parasites, and we will discuss further on that. We can add also that the canal leishmaniasis is a progressing disease, but many times it just causes an infection and not for life, with no expression of disease. So you can have a very large range between asymptomatic infection and fatal disease. But one of the main points that I would like to discuss with you is what we intend with the term asymptomatic, because we have a lack of standardization on the term subclinical, asymptomatic, exposed. In literature, you can find a lot of terms to define the same condition. For example, this dog be considered an asymptomatic, very healthy dog, but is proteinuria. So he's sick, not asymptomatic just because he does not express external signs of canine leishmaniasis. And this could conditionate a big problem in veterinarians because there is a confusion on when we have to treat a dog with infection. Obviously, when he is sick, for sure, but what about the treatment of asymptomatic dogs? We don't know about that. Also because we know that there is no treatment available that in most of cases will give 100% of definitive parasitic cure in the dog. Another big problem we have that we are not allowed to use, for example, liposomal amphotericin B, that is the treatment that in human is used because to avoid possible resistance for the human. So always the problem that we are treating leishmaniasis as a human-oriented problem, not with a one approach. Because if we have many dogs or other animals with leishmaniasis, we have to try to avoid the spread of parasite also by treatment. Here you can see that when we discuss of asymptomatic dogs, we can find different classification in literature. Here, the canine leishmaniasis working group that define the asymptomatic dogs as exposed or infected. In that group, we define in dogs in stage 1, dogs with that are asymptomatic or with minimum clinical sign, and there is a new classification that is based, is a review of the two classifications that is based on acute phase protein approach, in which they define the asymptomatic dogs in group 1 and 2. And we don't know. Yeah. Here you can see an example of stage 1 leishman with the very minimal pathway on the ear. Usually here you can find the parasite, but the dog effectively helped. And we don't know about the infectivity of this kind of dogs in nature. Because you know that the only way we have to assess the infectivity of the dog is xenodiagnosis, a very particular approach that could be also influenced by the number of sandflies employed for dog biting, the nature and extension of body surface, because we have some example in which xenodiagnosis is performed on the wall. Dogs, other example in which you just put a cage near the ear with sandfly near the ear of a dog, usually also the time of exposure ranging from 20 minutes to 1 hour, 1 hour and a half. This is probably the reason why in literature we have contradictory data, because we have not definitive proof of the role of asymptomatic in comparison with what we call sick dogs. Because we know that some studies point out on the role of this dog and the lack of correlation with the clinical signs for determining the dog infectiousness, and we have some example, but the majority of studies seems to confirm that sick dogs are more dangerous epidemiologically. We recently published a paper on the relationship between the clinical and laboratory parameters with infectiousness to phlebotomus perniciosus and its potential infectivity, because you know that in lab, here we have the entomologists, in lab is very difficult to assess the infectivity of sandfly, because on the 4th days you have to kill to demonstrate promastical, but we know that in nature you need 7 days, for example, to have the infective forms of metacyclics promastic. And this is just some result. It was very interesting to check that here you can see the 17 dogs in which we performed the experiment. The feeding rate was variable, but from each dog was possible to detect sandflies that fed on the dog. Here you can see that not in all the dogs, also in dogs with very high feeding rate, we had no promastic detection. And here the promastic burden score and the detection of the 4-day stage of promastic and the association with the clinical and lab parameters. Here you can see that there is a correlation between the cutaneous signs and the feeding rate, and the correlation with the disease severity and the feeding rate and promastic burden. No other correlation with the other variables. So it seems that the promastic burden, the quantity of promastic we find in sandfly is related to the antibody titers, to the skin lesions, and to clinical score. However, skin lesion seems to be the main factor that influences the blood feeding, but there is a tremendous individual variability. Again, so all dogs were bitten, but 7 out of 17 were not infectious to the rect, and independently from the individual clinical study. It was very important. We know that there is theory of super spreader, that it happens in many diseases, so probably some dogs are more infectious to sandfly, but how we can assess this kind of dogs? And this results not demonstrate, confirmed how difficult it is to predict the infectiousness of an infected sick dogs based on the post-morphological characteristics. And it happens also in humans. We know that when some authors perform xenodiagnosis on people with visual leishmaniasis by Leishmania belovani, only 55% of infectivity was found. And here you can see that in post-causal dermal lesions, we have 50% of people, they are healthy, just some skin lesion here, but they are full of pus, but they are healthy. So, skin parasitic load of infected sick dogs may represent an important marker to predict the infectivity towards sandpies. Some years ago, we also published another paper in which we demonstrate that with the experimental infection, the persistence of the parasite in small positive region or in intact skins also months after the experimental transmission by sandpies. And we know also, very interesting, that skin parasite burden is related with parasite transmission to sandfly, also in congenitally infected dogs. And it is a very elegant demonstration. The group of TMZPSN demonstrated that in 16 dogs, for groups of dogs classified by Leslie staging, in which also stage 1 dogs had no detectable parasitemia, the skin biopsies and xeno revealed parasite in the skin of stage 1. They are congenitally transmitted. So the skin is a clear target of the parasite also in dogs with vertical transmission, not only in dogs that are bitten by the sandfly. And the increased parasite uptake did not directly correlate with the increasing number of clinical sites. So the most infected dogs were classified as latent stage 2. It is a middle stage, not a late stage by clinical point of view. So this is just a summary in which you can see that sick obviously are full of parasites. In exposed, infected, and symptomatic, we can have presence of parasite for sure. And here we can have a question mark, because when we define negative, a dog living in endemic area, we just are saying that the dog is negative to a serological test or to a PCR where on blood, on lymph node, but obviously we cannot say that it is not infected, it is negative. To a test, to one or more tests is a different question. From that point of view, not easy to assess the infectivity of an asymptomatic dog, and obviously we cannot treat a dog only because it is a possible carrier. This is the problem for a vet. Serological positive, healthy, what we have to do? We cannot treat. We know that it is a full parasite, probably, but we, from an ethical point of view, and also to avoid drug resistance or not appropriate. The last slide is that we have to continue to protect dogs with the repellents, avoid breeding transfusion of asymptomatic dogs. We have to monitor continuously to start treatment when infection is progressing to disease. And here, another big problem, because we know that serologically positive dogs cannot be vaccinated. Why? Probably this is the best moment for doing vaccine in a dog to give a strong Th1 immunity, but it is under investigation. And we can consider also skin biopsies in particular epidemiological circumstances to approach the dog as a source of parts. Thank you. I will give the floor to my colleague for the cat.
Hello everybody, I thanks Luigi and Fabrizio for the invitation and the beautiful organization. So as we have heard by Gaetano, we have a lot of information about dog and leishmania, but it's not the same in cats. For a long time, the question about cat was if he was an accidental loss or a reservoir. So we know the difference between an accidental loss and a reservoir. An accidental loss is an host not involved in the disease transmission and in which the parasite cannot complete the biological cycle. While in a reservoir is an host in which the parasite can complete its cycle, can live and multiplies, and sometimes determining a disease, a manifestation of the disease, and sometimes no. So what about what happened in the cat? We know this is one of the first publication about the effectivity of the cat. Is a paper about a cat naturally infected by Leishmania infantum that demonstrated an effectivity on sandflies. This was proven by xenodiagnosis. So this is one of the first points that we know about that. This is more recent publication presented in the recent Alive 2 Congress on Leishmania in the month of April, in which is both confirmed the positivity of a xenodiagnosis proof on a positive cat, a cat naturally infected by Leishmania infantum. And in this work, another point was added. So this cat was treated with the 3 different anti-Leishmania drugs. One treatment with marcofloxacin, the other with miltefosine, and the third with allopurinol. And after each treatment, it was submitted to a xenodiagnosis. And in every xenodiagnosis, it was proven positivity. So we know another point, important point, that the treatment is not able to block the transmission of the parasite to the vector. What about clinical manifestations, so the possibility to show a symptomatic disease or not? We know that the majority of our cat has a subclinical disease, but we know that it can happen that some cat can show clinical signs, like the one that we know very well in dogs. So first cutaneous lesions, ocular alteration, weight loss, lymph node enlargement, anorexia, and the same happens for clinical pathological alteration. So diseased cat can show anemia, alteration of the hemogram, hypergrammaglobulinemia, globulinemia, and so on. So the same that happened in dogs. So at our first question of the role of the cat as a reservoir, we can for sure answer that yes, in fact, cats can represent an additional domestic reservoir for Leishmania infantum. So at the moment, we can assess some important point. So cat seem to be more resistant than dog, both to infection and disease. Clinical illness is sporadic. subclinical infection is common in endemic area for CAN. It's important to remember that infection is often associated with immunosuppression state, like concomitant fever-filled infection or a long-term corticosteroid therapy. What about the diagnosis in cat? We can use serology and parasitological techniques. Serology like IFAT with a cutoff assessed of 180, and parasitological techniques that we normally use in dog too. We know that in cat everything is more difficult, so it's not so easy to perform some techniques in cats, and there is a limit that is this one, so that at the moment we don't have a validated rapid test that we can use in cats. When we talk about feline leishmaniasis, we have to point out some critical points. The first one of this is that feline leishmaniasis is still underreported and underdiagnosed. These are, for example, the result of an epidemiological investigation that we carry out in our department in 2022, with the aim to survey on the perception of feline leishmaniasis by vets living in different Italian regions. I'm sorry that the results are in Italian, but it's easy to understand. The orange part is the no, so the majority of vets doesn't know the distribution, the real distribution of fel in Italian territory, has never diagnosed feline leishmaniasis, and admit to be not sure to be able to recognize a cat suffering of leishmaniasis. About the prevalence in the old world, we know where this data published on the National Group, the website, obtained by different studies from 1982 to 2021, in which the prevalence is assessed between 5 to 25%. And that these are the situation of the feline leishmaniasis in the New World. In this more recent study in 2022, about a multicentric survey of feline leishmaniasis in endemic regions of the Mediterranean basin, it was assessed an overall seroprevalence of 11%, and in this case, the detection of the leishmaniasis phantom DNA in the seropositive cats was of 7.2%. Other important clinical points when we talk about feline leishmaniasis is the treatment, for sure, because treatment is today empirically, and is based only on drugs that we normally use in dogs, like allopurinol, and prevention. This is another critical point, because most spirituals are toxic for cats, and we can use only flumetry collars that are safe for cats, but this is a limit, because we know that cats don't tolerate very well this kind of misuse during their normal life. So we can do some conclusion and suggestion. We are sure that disease is still underdiagnosed, because fel is often forgotten by the vets during their normal work, both in endemic and non-endemic areas. This is because fel could be masked by other concomitant disease, but we know that the cat is an additional domestic reservoir, and could represent a sentinel of the presence of leishmaniasis in a certain area. So it could be very important to recommend the protection of the entire feline population to improve the control of leishmaniasis phantom infection with the vector, and it's recommended to protect individual cat from the risk to develop the infection and consequently the clinical disease. Thank you very much for your
Any question or please?
So, grazie for this very nice presentation. We are very interested. My question is something a comment and a question for Gaetano. Gaetano, when so we have to suggest to policymakers and public health authorities what to do with these dogs that are asymptomatic, because the importance of self-diagnosis and assessing the relevance of asymptomatic animals as triggers through the centralized line bites of Leishmanian factum relies on the public health approach, because you know that, for example, in South America, we have some culling protocols or culling programs based on the risk represented by dogs to spread Leishmanian infantum to human, to population. And we, also with you and Gab, many other researchers work on that, wrote two articles, one in infectious disease and one in forensic parasitology, the dog culling, the wheel of change, no? Where we stigmatize the culling of dogs in a certain condition, technological condition. So, in my opinion, it's very risky to say, and I didn't understand whether your conclusion were in this side with this meeting. But it's very dangerous to say that animals that are symptomatic are important from a public health perspective, because of this problem in low or middle income countries, also in Southeast Asia, in China, and so this is just a consideration and thought about that. The second thing is that also your results are very interesting on the xenodiagnosis, but we should more in depth than into the role of VOX, volatile organic compounds for sandflies, because there are some, we are working currently at University of Bali, there are some like Lunanale, who is a VOC who is very attractive for sandflies and seems to be related with skin lesions. So this is something that is very interesting. And I think that this is, I mean, these are one suggestion or one consideration, but the first one is quite important to discuss, mainly in under the frame of public health and One Health, which is the main stream of this talk, of this meeting.
Thank you, Domenico. Grazie for being strange to discuss with you in English. Yeah, I will start from the second problem, but here Gioia could also add something, because in Climo's project there is also a particular topic to test a new drug with attractive compound for sandflies to have the possibility for reduction of this insect by attracting them with a particular pheromone or other substances. But here Gioia could add something. But it's very interesting because we know, but we know also from our nocturnal experience, because we know that if we are together in the room, some mosquito can come here, the other person nothing. Because there is an individual attraction of the insect that we have to consider. The main point of legislation, yes, you are right, you are absolutely right, because we have always to distinguish the country by country. Obviously, in here in Europe, probably the best way is to consider as a mandatory the protection of dogs in the region. And this is the best way to avoid the spread of a parasite, and is not so expensive for developed countries, so could be considered as mandatory. Obviously, in other countries and also in rural areas of our countries, it's not too easy to apply this tool. So we have to convince people that they need to protect dogs. But another, I think, way is further studies to really clarify if what we are searching in dogs is the same that we find in humans. Because probably Fabrizio will give also, I don't know the slides of Fabrizio, but in a live tool, there was a presentation from the different institutes of Italy that are working in Emilia-Romagna, in which they demonstrated that the strains of isolated Leishmania are not the same in animals and in humans. So probably we are targeting dogs, but we need more evidence that the population of Leishmania parasite are the same.
Other question?
Thank you so much. And I have two questions. One is, what would be expected to be like the percentage of positivity with xenodiagnostics? Because I was thinking if also there are vector barriers, so you cannot only say this dog is not infectious, but sandflies also have some protection so that they are, it's normal to get a low percentage of infections in sandflies. I am thinking always in also sylvatic reservoirs, and the possibility for sandflies is quite low, so I was thinking that. And the other thing was if you can comment on the vertical transmission, because that was something that I didn't know, and it's like usually they say Leishmania has not transplacentary transmission. So
First of all, vaccine.
Okay, thank you for the questions. Of course, in sandflies we have experienced in different xenodiagnosis study that there is differences, but mostly related, in our opinion, to the host that they are buying and not sandfly immune response. Okay, so it depends from the infectivity and mostly on the binding activity that could influence the number of sandflies having the blood feeding. So if the number are low, of course, number of infected sandflies will increase, because not all of them will get infected. That's quite normal. So it depends mostly from the host, at least from our study.
Vertical transmission is very well assessed in dogs. Is the natural way for which Leishmania is spreading in the US. You know, not sandfly till now that were demonstrated infected. So we know that many dogs may transmit. Also, in some cases, could happen also the death of puppies, just calving. But in some cases, they estimated around 75% or puppies that usually born are infected by the parasite. And also we have to understand that also by blood it's possible to have transmission during transfusion, and probably also during fighting, like Babesia gives. No? We know that for some parasite, the exchange of blood possible causing transmission. What about cat?
No, specifically, you want to know, but in cat is not assessed the vertical transmission, while blood donor are recommended to be tested for Leishmania. So I want to add another point about the prevention, because it's important to think that if we prevent Leishmania on dog, maybe the vector could go to cat. So it's important to remember that it's important to protect the cat in endemic areas.
Thank you. Thank you for all of your presentation. In fact, I have a question. In dogs or in human, first we have 3 parts to leishmaniasis, so can't speak around 7 months. Depending on leishmaniasis, visceral, or depending on the cause. In the dogs, all the symptoms were present in the human are present in the dogs, and in this case we can speak of the general leishmaniasis in dogs. But my question, when we have diagnostic certificate, this dog, for example, is affected with infantile leishmania, for example. What is the decision here for the veterinarian to do against this disease who can be more dangerous for human? Because I think the law here for protection on animal protection is a challenge for the veterinarian, I think. No. What is the decision? Even the treatment can't sterilize the animal. All treatments. We can discuss this because some countries, in this case, they keep the dogs. They keep the dogs like as, for example, in Algeria. When the diagnosis is confirmed, the decision, therapeutic decision is to keep, because the sterilization of the dogs with even treatments can't be.
No, you're right. And I think that this meeting could be also an occasion to write the way something God and other people. To write something for the authorities of different countries, also in North Africa, because we have to understand that serology is not enough to demonstrate that there is infection. Maybe with the very low titer, because low titers may also could be also generated by different species. We know Lesbena tarentum. This is a clear example in which there is a signal of something, but it's not pathogenic for humans till now. So this is the reason why we have to understand that serology, low level, could also be due to, we know that actually we had different bites from sandflies during their life. So, and during their activity. So they could also transmit some not infected form of Leishmania that may give a signal, but they are not infection. And it is very important. So why we have to kill a dog just because? And this is the reason why we need to better understand how we can diagnose the leishmaniasis in dog, and then we can discuss about that.
Okay, guys. Can we delay to lunchtime because we have a last presentation. It is a tribute, so I would like to first to welcome to.
We will write on the paper.
Yeah, but the lunchtime is very large. So we have a last presentation for today. It's tribal about the role of surveillance, role of animal health national and international centers. So please welcome Fabrizio Vitale and then Giovanna Masar and Gaia Muroni. Fabrizio Vitale comes from Sicily. It is a representative of the National Center for Leishmaniosis and also for the entomological and vector control laboratory. Please, Fabrizio, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Antonio, and thank you very much, and thank you, Antonio, Alberto, and Patricia for your introduction. And I saw you see my picture, this is me, but your surprise is where is not the times that are changing. Many years ago, with my true love of my life, Mia, my daughter, don't tell my wife. Please don't tell my wife. Okay, I have only 10 minutes, and the topic assigned to me and Giovanni, we represent the network of ISDS, is a little advertising to preserve our workplace of our institution. But I am very proud. I am very proud to present I define the powerful world machine of veterinary medicine in public health. More than 2,500 employees, graduates in all professionality, amazing biological science, chemistry, statistical, agriculture, science and economics, biomedical laboratory technicians, and at last, administrative staff. No one is perfect. Okay. We are 10 headquarters in Foglia, the national region, and 19 regional section that represent a network, a real network of important scientific tools available to national health service to ensure epidemiological surveillance, but not only experimental research, staff training, laboratory support for the official control of food and animal health, closely linked with veterinary public health and national health service. We have a lot of national reference laboratories. Okay, some people don't like this because the national reference laboratories in Italy are specialized scientific units with high competence in one or more topics in the areas of animal health and welfare, food hygiene, and surveillance, established by the Ministry of Health, and the work is to collaborate with the other global center, with the university, with the Institute of Superiore Sanità, and other public institutions and private too. We are 54 interim national reference laboratories, another network inside the IZS network. And we change our expertise in the times that they are changing also for national reference laboratories. The first, 1976, was focused on one topic for equine infections anemia. The last one changed everything. analysis and study of correlation between environment. Oh, sorry. It's very hard for me, the device, electronic device, sorry. Study of correlation between environment, animal, and man. The last one, open the mind to the one with the perspective. And with the international expertise network, OIX, OIWOAH, as a global network of 266 laboratories covering over 100 diseases, and 68 collaborating centers covering 45 specialties. In Italy, we have 22 WOA reference laboratories, including mine, and 9 WOA collaborative centers. Then the international expertise is putting in all the national reference centers. Okay, this is okay for getting something we have several workplace. What talking about with mine is very hard for me because I'm talking after Domenico, Gaetano, Gioia, Valentina, everything has been said about the mine. Then I think the best way is to follow my best mind of the National Reference Center, and then we speak with 3 milestones: access health the population, determine the causes of any health problems, implement the evaluate solution. This is because the sentence that I like of the epidemiology described by last is the study and distribution of the determinants, new words of health-related states for evidence in specified population, the application of this study of to the prevention and control of the health problems. This is a point of view I think very useful to follow the 5 milestones in my point of view: identify, determine, study, evaluate, and develop. Identify the etiology of cause of disease, but is the determinant, the primary determinant. Of course, parasitologists offer me the parasitological cycle of Leishmania, but I want to bring a little point of view, like in one of the perspective. The interaction between living beings who share the same environment should be considered a single nervous system. And now I'm trying to, with you, to insert the triad of health, environment, and mind. Whole is environment, intermediate host, reservoir, supply, and host finally. Okay, the agent. This is Leishmania cultivation. This is the war machine of the Leishmania infection. And we know we have all this Leishmania all over the world, but Leishmania symptom is the most important major invasive, and we're talking about Leishmania symptom. But not only, because the agent now is the primary determinant. And we have Leishmania if we have vector, because it is a vector disease. Then they identify the etiology or cause of disease is related from parasite and distribution range of sample according by geographical zones. Determine the extent of the disease. This is a critical point of view in my mind. Because of the surveillance activity is focused on the Manzillo topic, the reservoir of the disease. The dog is very simple, But like spoiled Gaetano before. Maybe we need to reconsider the role of the dog like the main philanthropic reservoir. For a lot of reasons, but we have no time to explain that. I ask the help of Fabrizio to examine the spreading of the disease, the canine disease, in our way. But the canine control, surveillance of canine control is developed in Italy, but I think in Europe too, on the basis of some consideration and only at regional level. Canine reservoir on the horizon in dense areas, rapidly spreading factor like Gioia show us, phlebotomy effect, interregional dog handling, improved, this is the hope, improved information from human and animal. And the World Health Organization explained the the status of endemicity of Vitale and visualness to different forms instead the canine infection like Valentina and Gaetano said before. But one is the point, the epidemiological point of view. The basic relation of the Mediterranean is like I wonder, I don't know English words for it's like a volano, you know, but I don't know English words for volano. Yeah, dry. Okay, it's like dry in European countries. Then, stupid progression of the disease. Why are we? Why the national reference center in Italy was established by public health in Sicily and the war in 2014 established the war reference lab because it's a strategic location in the Mediterranean basin at the center of the Mediterranean across the world. Of history, yes, of the power of conquest, of empire, a melting point for ethnic groups, but a melting point to afterwards too. And why do we get so much about climate change? But Gioia is clear in this climate project too. The outlook vector of the disease are without temperature regulation system are heterogenic, then depend on the environment of the region. The modeling of climatic suitability of Latin vector spies in Europe just before yesterday, I don't remember who explain the 10 sunfly under the future climate conditions. Then, evaluate preventive and preventive measures for a disease. I want to show the key points of CDA. 2 points. There are no vaccine or drugs to prevent the infection. This is clear. And the best way to protect the infection population is to protect themselves against some fly bites. It's very simple. It's like, it's like a view that we have in front of us. Then joint effort applied surveillance purpose track some fly population. I think this is your group, you made highly evaluate control effectiveness, highly sunfly and also disease, determining the rates which track the sign are most effective in a entomological point of view. We discuss the effective track design and which therapeutic measure for the disease, but Gaetano was very clear before. And I report the latest guideline, the one I like. I want to agree with you. The one I like for practical management of recognizing analysis that with the recipe of WHO recommendation to use different drugs for animal and human population. Because the challenge now is the resistance. Develop public health policy. This is in my mind the critical point. Actually, neuroscience bioactivity is seasonal, restricted to some amounts in more areas, but the future to beating the climate change these days from the activity period that showed that pause periods extend networks and interactive activity. So what means? I think a public violence at the European level, for example, mandatory notification system of countries, this is pure. But we have some problem in the region. Educate, like Gaetano says, educate people in intervention against unfly, insect evidence, use of insecticide impregnati nets, topical application impregnati products for the dogs. Further research, for example, alternative mode of transmission, effective vaccine for human leishmaniasis. Oh, I think this is a very, very hope. But we have effective, we have vaccine. Sorry, I want to vaccine for canine leishmaniasis, but I agree with Gaetano. Improved to TH1 response. Why not? Why not? We have to control the infection in reservoir population, better predictive modeling of disease transmission. So I'm going to conclude. In other countries, we have a different notification systems. For example, human leishmaniasis notification, we have mandatory in more than countries, except France and Serbia, mild and reporting. CL is not mandatory in most of the countries, high unreporting. And the point of view of animal health, canine leishmaniasis notification mandatory in more than any countries, except France, Romania, Serbia. In Italy too, I think. Italy too. And leading some regions by municipal veterinarians and reporting. This is a critical point to develop public health policy. The technical report under surveillance, prevention, and control of leishmaniasis in the European Union report leishmaniasis is widely handled reported in the southern part of Europe and behind. Measures for leishmaniasis prevention and control is very considerable between countries. This variation could have a very important implication, including increased incidence in the community countries and neighboring countries. You know. Okay, the last leishmaniasis is an example of how it's essential One Health perspective. How many people conclude medical doctor to recognize and track the human clinical fraud, veterinary to recognize and track animal clinical fraud, biologists for optimize research laboratories, entomologists to monitor vectors, wild expert to identify non-anthropized reservoir ecologists to make public health to the principle of public hygiene, epidemiologists to outline surveillance media to inform about this information, for example, the population. Okay, but all these stakeholders share the information. I think, but we said with medical yesterday, I think veterinary medicine is ready for the one perspective. But human, I think not. I think not. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Fabrizio. Let's keep to the next presenter, the next from Sassari Animal Health Center, Giovanna Masala and Yamura. Yes, but I will introduce both. And Giovanna is head of National Center for Cystic Echinococcosis, and Gaia is working actually with her and will present the activities and work of National Center for Cystic Echinococcosis. Welcome, Gaia.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm sorry to bother you during lunchtime. I'll try to be as fast as clear as possible. And I really want to say thank you to giving us this opportunity, because we feel like that echinococcosis stays in the corner a little bit and we need a voice. And today you gave us this voice that we need. So I need the, okay. Okay, so the National Reference Center for Echinococcosis was established in 2002 in the Istituto Zoprofilattico. Oh, sorry.
It's very loud.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, don't worry.
So, and.
We give you a voice, but.
Okay. Maybe I don't need it.
No,
And I will say that it stays, it's located in Sassari, and we are also since 2017 WOA reference laboratory for echinococcosis. We take care of diagnosis, surveillance, and control of echinococcosis, and we cooperate internationally talking, and this is pretty much our job. So echinococcosis is not leishmaniasis, which is the part you've been listening to. Is a parasitic disease. It is a zoonosis, and it's caused by the tapeworms of Echinococcus. The two main forms in Italy are the cystic echinococcosis, which is the one that we have in Sardinia, and the alveolar echinococcosis. They're different for their distinctive host and for the form that they give to humans, because in the cystic echinococcosis we can see just one cyst, mostly in liver and lungs. In alveolar echinococcosis, they form something that looks like a tube. In Italy, the monitoring of the presence of cystic echinococcosis occurs by passive surveillance during postmortem inspection in slaughterhouses, and previous studies have shown that official data on the prevalence of this disease and the distribution in animals and humans are imperceived and underestimated. So the life cycles of echinococcosis species depends on the species, and we have a definitive host that arbor the adult worm in their intestine, which is represented by the dogs for the Echinococcus granulosus and the foxes and dogs also for the nucleocularis. And we have them that they release through the feces the eggs in the environment. The intermediate hosts are represented by herbivores for the Echinococcus granulosus and small mammals for the nucleocularis. Humans have a really big risk to contact the eggs through the environment, since the dogs, mostly shepherd dogs and stray dogs, can go to vegetable gardens, so they can get it through a direct contact and accidental injection of eggs. And it's a really bad disease, since it could be silent for a lot of years, and is a disease that takes a lot of years to grow and to show the clinical signs. It's considered also a neglected tropical disease, and the World Health Organization emphasizes to improve the surveillance and the control measures, mostly in endemic areas, and of course in the rural areas where the hosts are most present. We face a lot of critical issues, since of course in Italy we don't have a national surveillance plans. In Europe, there are a lot of countries with a mandatory surveillance plan, and some of them, they have a voluntary plan, such as Belgium and France. The data are really, really not clear, and we don't have a reality of the situation on the geographic distribution, and there is a lot of discrepancy between the official data and those of scientific research. Our biggest obstacle, of course, is the underreporting of both humans and animal cases. But how does the information flow for this disease? So, local authorities collected data in the slaughterhouses for the animals, and they reflect the data to the Institute of Prophylactic. All the data are collected in the SINZO, which was made by the Ministry of Health and in cooperation with Nicovedi. So they put all the data in this livestock database, and they are all reflected to the European community, to the EFSA. These ones are the data from the last SINZO report, and as you can see, Sardinia is the one with the highest number of total positives for this disease. Campania seems like they don't have cases at all, but we feel like that is just underreported. And you can see that there are just a few cases, but we feel like the reality is not like this. These ones are the data from the European One Health Zoonosis report, which is made every year, combining the data that I told you collected from the EFSA, and they put all the data together also of the human cases collected by the ACDC through the testing surveillance system. In Sardinia, this disease is considered endemic, even though in the north of Italy it's considered sporadic, but we feel like that it's not real. And we could tell that from our studies, the prevalence in the wine farms tested was almost 100%, 95%, and in bovine farms, close to the 40%. This is because, of course, we have a lot of sheep. Do you know, guys, how many sheep we have in Sardinia? We have almost 4 million sheep in Sardinia, and we are 1.6 million people. So it means that pretty much every one of us has 2 sheep. So because this disease is related to a cycle of dog sheep, as you know, there are sheep, there are farms, and there are also a lot of, farmers with dogs, they're not registered, they don't have a microchip, they maybe don't get any warning. So this is how this disease keeps on staying in our land. This one is the report that I showed you before about talking about human cases, and as you can see, Italy has no cases at all. This is not true because what we can say from the data collected from the hospital discharge form, which is a tool that we use pretty much to collect the data before for the cost for each patient, but it tells you, of course, why the person is then hospitalized. And from this data, we could say that there were a lot of people hospitalized for echinococcus. But if we go back, but if we go back to the report of the European Union, we could tell that there were no human confirmed cases for echinococcus. There is a really, really, really big problem we have to face because, as you can see, the cases are raw. And what I could say is that, of course, these ones are the hospitalized people, but we don't consider the people that actually have disease, which is silent, and they don't have any symptom, because sometimes happens that people go to do an ultrasound and the doctor finds out they have a cyst. To actually have symptoms in human, it takes a lot of years. So it's really, really, really underestimated. But we have hope, and there is a light at the end of the tunnel, which is represented by the PREMAL, which is a reporting system for infectious diseases. that was introduced by a decree of the 7th April 2022 of the Minister of Health, in which the doctor had to report every case of infectious diseases, and the list of infectious diseases they have to report is listed in an NSA, where you can see over there is echinococcosis. So to conclude, in Italy, we have this really big problem, and the situation with the echinococcosis is still really complex. We know that we need a lot of cooperation between doctors and veterinarians and all the equipe, because we are talking about One Health and we have to cooperate. And we hope, of course, for a national surveillance system for this disease, since the data could tell us that there are cases and need to be controlled. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Gaetano. Any questions for Gaetano and also for Fabrizio? You are hungry. Yes. Okay, thank you. And please, for announcement for everyone, the lunch is free for everyone is attending the Congress, and even is a speaker or not, please, so eat, because there is a lot of food, and yesterday we give it back. Thank you. Possiamo andare.